Triboa Bay Living is a furniture and lighting brand that mixes classic forms with a pared-down contemporary sensibility. Wood is the primary material and raw finishes that evoke a warm, casual, and resort-like ambiance. Today we interview Randy Viray, Triboa Bay's founder and president.
Casual lang.
Hi!
Hello.
Please introduce yourself. Who are you?
Okay, I'm Randy Viray. I am the founder and the president of Vivere Lifestyles Co Incorporated. And we do business under the trade name Triboa Bay Living.
Mm-hmm.
And I am actually the third generation of furniture makers from my family, and started with my grandfather way back in the 50s, 60s, passed on to my mom in the 70s, and then I put up my own in the late 80s or early 90s.
Can you tell us the background of that company and how you started it?
I used to manage my parents' furniture business, and I just, with a thought in mind of putting up my own eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a certain design all the while I was managing the business. A certain design that would not be in conflict with my parents, which I could market side by side with theirs. And so one day I just found myself sitting on a Thonet chair. It's famously called the Vienna chair, designed by Michael Thonet at the turn of the century. And it was actually made of, this is a reproduction chair, and made of bent wood. And I was amazed that initially I thought it was made of rattan, and then I looked down and felt it, and felt sturdy, and I saw wood grains. That started everything. That chair actually started everything.
Mm-hmm.
When I found that chair, I was so overjoyed, and it was so simple, but yet it was so beautiful to my eyes. Not everybody understood. My brothers were like, I was literally jumping for joy when I found it.
Can you name some of the key milestones that your company went through
Okay,
to
so
get to where it was now?
Okay, so way back in the early 90s, that's when I found out, when I would say, found that chair, and I started reproducing it. And I think it was 1992 when a trader who actually who exported Philippine products saw an exhibition where I was participating in Clark. He saw that chair and immediately ordered, I still remember, 50 pieces. And that 50 pieces became 100, and 100 became 150, 150 to 300, and so on and so forth. I founded the company. It was still called Vienna Furniture at that time, as homage to the Vienna chair. And then 2008, I actually had to close the company because of the recession in the US, and I reinvented it and put up Vivere Lifestyles Co Incorporated under the trade name Triboa Bay Living, which we still manage and still existing and thriving up to this day.
Are there any more challenges that your company went through that made it to where it is now?
Somehow I could not manage to to make the company grow at the pace that I wanted. We exhibited our pieces, including that chair, the Vienna chair, at the Paris exhibition, and I did some benchmarking with the other exhibitors in terms of pricing, and I found out that, you know, I was pricing myself too low. I was pricing the products too low because we were attracting volume buyers and high-end buyers, which was low volume. And the Dutch consultant told me, Randy, you know, it's since you're a startup, your factory is small, there's no way for you to fill in the orders of these mass market businesses. And they will actually eat you alive, he says. So you can actually afford to bring your prices a little higher. So you cut out on the mass market, so you don't have to serve this mass market, which you cannot serve in the first place because of your small factory. You really need to travel. You really need to travel to get out of your comfort zones and see the world and observe. You need to observe so you could, analyze if you're doing the right thing or not by comparing yourself with, by benchmarking your products or your company.
Okay, so you said that you closed your first business.
Okay.
So what made you decide to still continue it, but in a different way?
You see, when the old business, you just have to be a good manufacturer that could deliver on time and at the right price. Marketing basically involved, joining the trade fairs and then hopefully meeting a buyer that will give you orders for many years to come. And that was basically the marketing that we did. We had to change everything. And we had to change our mindset. And the manufacturing, coming from manufacturing, is involves a different part of the brain. And compared to doing marketing is an art form. And we had to do things differently. You had to put value in your brand, in your products, more than the sum of your products. So you could price your products in a way that will give you maximum profit. At that time, we were basically the only player in the market that was offering lighting products that is primarily made of wood. And because of that, we could price the products higher, simply because you have less competition. But in any business, as you know, eventually there will be copycats, there will be competitors, and you have to find new ways of doing new things, or new ways of doing old things. And that is the challenge in any business, okay? Be it in design or manufacturing or anything, restaurant, anything. You always have to reinvent yourself. You have to reinvent your company. especially in this fast-paced computer world, connected world.
How do you know what trends to keep up with? Like, how do you know what people want next?
We try to focus on a small niche that's not being served by competitors. And so you will always have to look for that. And in my case, it actually came naturally because when everybody else was doing carved furniture, elaborate furniture, and also this is the early 90s, the trend back then was, intricately carved furniture or rattan or wrought iron furniture combined with the indigenous materials. And what I offered back then was wooden furniture, which not a lot of companies within the Philippines was not offering. We were only a handful of us who could do wood. You have to be distinct so you could price your products better and not just be, one of them and compete on price alone.
About managing your company, how do you manage all those people that work for you, for the company?
Of course, when you're starting a business, you were actually doing everything. You were the designer, you were the HR, you manage HR, you manage finance, you manage marketing, everything. It came to a point when I decided I should get someone. I found Tita Mers, and she's very good at operations.
Would you advise?
Yes. How would I advise you, especially industrial designers like you, your generation, your batch? You see, the Philippines is not known for manufacturing. It's actually our neighboring countries that are known for that, like China. If you look at the grand scheme, if you look at things from afar, it would look like, oops, how will you thrive if you're a graduate of industrial design and yet you won't find a lot of factories that can make your products? Unlike, for example, in China, where so many companies, their factories, they are capable of doing so many different things, working on different materials. I think what you should be doing is you should travel and make connections with these factories, not just within the Philippines, but also abroad, especially abroad. If you look at, for example, toy companies in Australia, I just came across this toy company from Australia. Australia has, I don't know what the population is in Australia, but it has much less, it is very much less than the Philippines. We're 100 million, right? I think Australia is about, 10 million, 20 million? Definitely less. It's a lot less. But you see, they have some toy companies are actually thriving there. Good branded toy companies are thriving there, and these toys are actually made in China. That's very important as a designer. You need to expose your eyes and your hands on the possibilities out there, and work for. Maybe some of you could focus or work on coming up with your own brand of products, not necessarily made by, it would be good if it's made in the Philippines, but it could be made in China as well. And don't be scared of these factories asking for big volumes, but because things have changed dramatically since what, 10 years or even 5 years ago, companies in China now can actually accept small quantities, you know, small volume orders. So maybe because of, you know, the technology, 3D printing and all, you know, we could benchmark with for example, Kickerland, diba? That US company that designs these little toys for grown-ups that are mass marketed, very good price, and they're all made in China. They're all made in China. Look at the history of that company. They started small.